Who that nation? What's good with y'all, man? Y'all know who it is. It's your boy Who Dat Davis here for you. And as always, if you don't know, you will know that over here we bleed black and gold until we are dead and cold. Thank y'all for joining me for another edition of the B&G Breakdown podcast. I hope you guys have had a fantastic start to your weekend so far. It has been a great weekend. It's been an overall great week for your boy because this past week he got to see his nieces and his nephews come down from Georgia. Had a nice little get together at Big Mama's house around the corner for Saturday and Sunday. A little bit of Monday too. Gonna have some cousins stay over for the following day. They left Monday afternoon. Well, I got to see E. I got to see JoJo. I got to see my youngest niece Lakin. I got to see my cousin Ray. Man, look, it's been a blessing of a weekend, man. It's always a special time when you can just get together as a family for just no reason at all. You sit out in the front yard, you're just talking about whatever, having the kids running around, just being kids, getting outside, enjoying what Mother Nature has to offer. It wasn't as hot as it wasn't as hot over this recent weekend either. So that's another big blessing right there, man. I want to thank everybody so far who has filed in and joined in to watch the edition of B&G Breakdown podcast. I see my usual OGs down there, from Hoodie Jube to Jerry to young Nola. Man, I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate y'all filing in, always showing us support. As always, y'all can do me a favor, hit that like button down there. It takes $0.00 just to be a good supporter. Hit that like button down there. It helps out the algorithm, helps keep me on y'all's For You page out here on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate that. If y'all rocking with your boy, do that for me. While y'all doing that, hit that share button. Look, there's not a lot of people who know about B&G Breakdown Podcast. Not a lot of people who know about your boy, Who Dat Davis. I want to change that, but I can't change that without y'all help. So hit that share button. Y'all share me around to y'all fellow friends, y'all fellow Saints fans, y'all fellow football fans. Look, I'm here to get all kinds of football talk going. NFC South, AFC South, Chiefs, Eagles, whatever the case may be. I want to do this thing right. I'm going to do this thing hot all manner of times throughout the day. So if y'all hit that share button, y'all share me around. Let's get so many people there. I want to start my own little round table before the start of the NFL season. This came as an idea to me over the course of this week. Now, obviously, Hoodie Jew does that over there on his channel sometimes, so I can't take full credit for this. I can't take full credit, but a little bit of a round table before the start of the NFL season or before the start of NFL games, just talk football, what we're looking for, this, that, and the third. I would love to have that, added to my arsenal of things to do in terms of content for you guys. So you guys, I would appreciate hit that share button. Get me around, man. Let's talk football. It's going to be a great season for all of us. It's been long missed, a very, very long and hot summer. So if y'all hear my fan right now, just bear with me, all right? It is hotter than a devil's ass cheeks out here. So your boy's trying to keep cool like everybody else. I have my window unit here, but I'm not trying to turn that on because it's so loud. It'll overshadow everything that I'm trying to say. And I'm not trying to have that. So this is a nice little compromise right here, man. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, like once again, thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for filing in. But speaking of my fellow supporters, I gotta give a shout out to my boy Hoodie Jube here. Y'all don't know what's going on with Hoodie Jube. He just let y'all know down in the comment section. He's been diagnosed with COVID, and now he's missing out on some work, missing out on that money. So y'all go give my boy Hoodie Jube some support. Keep him in your thoughts, keep him in your prayers. The sooner he can beat this, the sooner he can get back to doing what he loves. Y'all don't know this guy sells cars now. He can get you to a nice whip. Now, I might have to go pay Hoodie Jube a visit myself because this 2016 Volkswagen your boy got out here in the front yard, it's doing the job it's supposed to do, but I'm looking to upgrade real soon. So, Hoodie, you can put me on to a new kind of whip. Hey, let's talk business, my brother. I'm all open for it. Because guess what? Your boy, as of this following, not next weekend, but the weekend after, he's going to be in New Orleans. That's right. Your boy, Who Dat Davis, is going to be on the road back to the boot because I am going to be front and center for one of the Saints training camp practices on August 2nd. Now, that was originally scheduled to be at 9:15 a.m. They pushed it back to an extra hour. So it starts at 10:15 a.m., but the time I wake up and the time I get on the road remains the same. I'm going to be at 7 a.m. sharp. By 8 o'clock, I'm on that road. I might stop by somewhere, give me a little quick breakfast along the way, but I will be front and center with all my content with the homies as well. It's going to be a fun time. And might have a little bit of a passenger, you know what I'm saying, coming with me now. Obviously, she's taking some time to think about it. No guarantees, but if she does decide to show up, show out, y'all help me welcome her to the Who Dat Nation. She's not, like I said before, she's not the biggest fan of football, right? But we can change that. Help me bless her. Help me get her in the ways of the black and gold, y'all. We need that. We need that for the family. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, speaking of the Saints, y'all see it the title down here. We're gonna be talking about a lot of guys here, a lot of guys. But before we get down with that type of breakdown, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring out the breaking news that just came out today, and that is 40th overall pick Tyler Shuck, quarterback out of Louisville, has secured his fully guaranteed deal, which means all of the New Orleans Saints quarterbacks are going to be present, they're going to be active, and going to be there for the start of training camp as of this coming Monday. And that is a really, really blessing. As a blessing for him, it's a good thing for the Saints. They can get that finally out of the way. I have a small roach here. That is not going to happen on my watch, so bye-bye. But the 22nd is also going to be the day that the Saints unveil their new alternate jerseys. Now, a lot of us speculate it's going to be gold color. I want it to be gold color because if y'all remember back when, way back in the day during the Aaron Brooks era, they unveiled a gold jersey, black pants combo that killed during their game against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I would love for something like that to make its return back to the active fold under this new Kellen Moore era. It respects the past while ushering in a new future. Now, that's my personal opinion. Some people think it's going to be another type of black jersey with white lettering, kind of like the days of old in 1980s, 1990s. The Saints social media team, they dug up some archives, so some old throwback jerseys, kind of deter us a little bit, kind of get our minds veering in another direction as to what the alternate jerseys might look like. But personally, I hope it's gold. I already have a gold jersey in the closet of Michael Thomas, so I would love for another valid reason to add another gold jersey to my arsenal. That being said, speaking of Arsenal, your boy, pretty soon, so I have this whole space looking different. A lot more Saints apparel, a lot more Saints merch up here around me. This is gonna go away real soon. This over here gonna go away real soon. That's over here on my dresser. That's gonna go away. We're gonna get this thing looking right before the start of the NFL season, especially if your boys gonna be doing live reactions at some point during the season. That's right, that's coming back. Y'all rock with me before. Y'all know that I started doing live reactions to the NFL Saints games that started in 2020. Now I'm going to bring that back. I need to bring that back. It is a must-have. Now I'm going to have my grandma's bell here. Y'all know my late grandmother's bell. It's been here every time the Saints make a play like a turnover or a touchdown. The bell gets rung, and we do a little dancey dance on live. Show out to the fans. That I'm going to bring the bell back. I think it's a nice way to honor not only my grandmother's memory, but I'm sure that's what she would want. So that's gonna be another thing that's coming back. But with that being said, let's officially get down with the breakdown with the breaking news. Tyler Shuck receives his fully guaranteed contract. He is the 40th overall pick. Now picks 34 through 40, they all received fully guaranteed contracts, and picks later after that receive anywhere from 80 to 95. Now, this is a new precedent that is happening around the National Football League. A lot of teams were hesitant. The league was hesitant on giving second-round picks fully guaranteed contracts, especially after what's been established before, and the Texans and the Cleveland Browns. Not the Cleveland Browns, but the Houston Texans. They guaranteed their second-round pick Higgins, his fully guaranteed deal, and it was it kind of threw everybody for a loop. Now, everybody was playing the waiting game up to the very, very last minute, but the San Francisco 49ers, with their second-round pick and Alfred Collins, Texas legend, hook 'em. Appreciate everything you've done for my Texas Longhorns. Collins, go ball over there and over there in the Bay Area. Unless you're playing my boys the Saints, then I'm gonna need you to fall flat on your face. You feel me? But yeah, Alfred Collins, he was the guy that got his full guaranteed deal. That got every other pick rolling, kind of like a down hit, like a trickle down effect for everybody else. Now we're seeing second round picks getting signed left to right. And Tyler Shuck, as of today, was another one of those signees. He's cashing out. He's cashing out in a big way. Well, not in a big way. The amount of money for a second round pick doesn't change, right? So let's get that out the way. Some people are concerned that if they're giving a injury prone quarterback a fully guaranteed deal, and it looks bad, especially if you're going to Overall Saints Twitter. You can see the reactions over there. Personally, I don't see a huge deal about it, especially when you look at the type of injuries that Tyler Shook has sustained. We've gone over it here on the podcast platform. Those were freak accidents. Those are injuries that does not happen often. They're not soft tissue injuries or lighthearted injuries that the Saints have been known to be plagued with since 2021, right? So I think it's fair to say that Tyler Shuck won't have those type of issues going for him. And he's been very active about that when doing podcasts with John Gruden, with the St. Brown brothers. He's talked about, letting it rip, not playing scared because of the injuries he faced during his college career. And that's the type of energy I want from my starting quarterback. So if this is what it takes to get Tyler Shuck day one on the field for training camp so he doesn't miss valuable reps, I'm with it, especially if that's Kellen Moore's guy. But that being said, this whole deal, this just shifted even more favorably in the direction of Tyler Shuck to start for the 2025 season because of the fact that you fully guaranteed his money. You don't make that type of investment. You don't make that type of decision as a team, as an organization, if you weren't fully prepared to start your guy, if not right away, then at some point during the 2025 campaign. All right. It's just not going to happen. I don't see that happening any other way. So anything is a possibility. I won't make any guarantees. I'm not a head coach. I'm not in that office. I don't know what kind of game plans they got cooking up over there. But right now, as it stands with this fully guaranteed deal that Tyler Shuck has received, I'd be hard pressed to say anything less than he's going to be, the starter for the Saints team. And I am still apprehensive about it, you know what I'm saying, because of the fact that we don't know what Tyler Shuck is going to be for the New Orleans Saints. There's still questions that he has to answer. A lot of people say that he's a pro-ready quarterback, that he's thrown less pass attempts than the likes of Justin Herbert, than the likes of C.J. Stroud. Hell, he's thrown less pass attempts over his seven seasons in college than Justin Fields. And we all know where Justin Fields is at right now as a journeyman. So I don't know if I call him pro-ready as a quarterback. Now, obviously, he's seeing more defensive type of coverages at the college level that could help him in his transition to the pro level. But I don't know if I call him pro-ready just yet. Now, he's making a lot of headway. He's repping the Saints. He's doing what he needs to do. He's going out there with his guys. Recently, he's been out there in Beaverton. I don't know if y'all know that, but it's been reported by Nick Underhill, I think a week or maybe a week and a half ago, that he was in Beaverton, which I believe is in the Ohio area. If I'm not, let me know. But he was in Beaverton recently with his skill guys. It was a throwing session that lasted 2 days. It was orchestrated by veteran receiver Brandon Cooks, and all types of skill guys were out there. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson. The list goes on. All the skill guys, all the receivers that you would want to hear being a part of something like that, they were out there. And Tyler Shuck was a guy that was scripting, those throws on air. He was scripting those type of plays, getting everyone's attention, make sure that he knows that they know what he likes and doesn't like, this, that, and the third. Now, I appreciate that from the sense of camaraderie, the sense of unity that we have not really seen much in the history of the Dennis Allen era, or even the latter years of the Sean Payton era. Now, that's not to say that they haven't done it at all during those time spans, but that's not something we've heard reported under those recent years. So I think it's a nice little change up. It's a nice little breath of fresh air, saying that this team is slowly buying in to what Kellen Moore is putting out. And I can't hate on that. I can't. I like the guy, especially since Salashuk, even during the whole stalling of his contract signing, that hasn't stopped him from going out there in the community, going out there and gelling with his receivers, staying in talks with his coaches. This isn't this isn't a situation that could be anywhere near the same as Shamar Stewart and the Cincinnati Bengals. To my knowledge, even that still hasn't really made a lot of headway. And pretty soon they're scheduled to have all their guys, all their rookies report to training camp. So I appreciate Tyler Shark for understanding what he's worth, but not using that as a way to be petty with his organization or letting that whole situation, build sour feelings or anything in between. That's a really encouraging side because this season it's got to be all hands on deck. There's a lot of question marks, like I just said a minute ago, that needs to be answered. With those question marks, we're going to go ahead and get into our first topic here. Y'all saw it a minute ago. Um, Look, everybody's made a huge deal about Trevor Penning moving to left guard, and for good reason. That is a point of emphasis, as a point of concern, because Trevor Penning, since coming to the Saints from the University of Northern Iowa, he's played left tackle, didn't work out too well due to injury concerns. He's played right tackle with the addition of Talise Fuaga, who went to play left tackle this past season. He went over to the right side, hoping he can solidify a spot there. His overall, his overall performance, just slightly above average, if I had to say. Some would argue even below average, and I'm not really in a position to really refute that. But this time he's going back to the left side, and he's reportedly been on camera, on with the media, saying that is a position that he feels more natural at because during his time in college, that's a position to where it eliminates a lot of, second guessing or reactions that he can't really process or he can't really get up to speed on when it comes, because he has the athleticism, he has the power, he has the what he needs to do is he needs to be able to lock in on one specific target and just go. There's no second guessing. There's none of that. That's not, you're not waiting to see what happens. No, you got a guy right now, right in front of you. Take him out the play. It's just simple execution. Now, but with that said, left guard is a concern, but in my opinion, right guard is even more of a concern, given the fact that he's been there all these years, and it still looks like he's having a Larry Warford type of performance. Now, y'all know Larry Warford. I'm not very bullish on him, but my first make or break is Cesar Ruiz. Cesar King or no King Ruiz. Now, a make or break player for me is a guy whose performance will dictate the final record for the New Orleans Saints in 2025. Their performance will have a significant influence on how their final record will shape up, how games will shape up. And the biggest one for me right now is this right guard position. Cesar Ruiz, since being drafted from the University of Michigan as a center. Now, the original plan, let's get some context here. The original plan for Cesar Ruiz was for him to move to center and put Eric McCoy back to right guard, where he was at Texas A&M. However, during his rookie training camp, he sustained an injury, and there was no time for Cesar Ruiz to get acclimated to the center position in Drew Brees and Eric McCoy to the right guard spot. So Eric McCoy remained center, and they decided to just mold Cesar Ruiz, put him at right guard, and mold him accordingly. Now, up and down, he's a great run blocker. That's similar to Trevor Penning, right? But his pass blocking remains to be desired. He has a lot of issues with staying on blocks. He has an issue with athletic defensive tackles in the stunt game. We always use this term looking for work, right? He does not really do that very well, even at this stage of his career. And that is a thing that I believe is going to need to be shaped up quickly if you got a rookie quarterback back there that's going to be taking snaps. It was a problem last year when Special Rattler was in the game. I got a few examples here I'm going to show y'all of what I'm talking about, because this is a thing that has been notoriously common with Cesar Ruiz, and it for all intents and purposes, it can no longer happen. So what I'm going to show you right now is Cesar Ruiz. I'm going to show through a few clips. I'm not going to go through a whole film study. This isn't that. This is just a few examples of what the New Orleans Saints have had to go through with Cesar Ruiz since being named a starter at the right guard position. Now, this first clip here is against the Washington Commanders, right? This is where Spencer Rattler came in halfway through the game after Jake Haener was benched. So what we're going to look at here is the following. This is the shot play. This here is the shot play to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who was up here at the top. Y'all know that shot. Y'all know that shot play that took about 25, 30 yards. A great ball placement. Nice catch by Marquez Valdez-Scantling. But the issue I have is he took a unnecessary shot, and that's more so to the detriment of this offensive line play, particularly Cesar Ruiz. Let me show y'all what we got going on here. So we're going to let it roll. You keep your eye on Cesar Ruiz right here. This is what I'm talking about. We got to find work at all times. But what we got going on here, he's out here in no man's land. Look here. We've got Trevor Penning doing work. Talise Fuaga doing work. We've got the left guard here doing work. We got work all across the field. Cesar Ruiz is the only one staring at nothing but green grass all the way across the field. And it's absolutely blowing my mind that, look at this. Everybody is about 2, 3, sometimes maybe even 4 yards past him. And he's sitting here just trying to figure out what to do. And it's absolutely blowing my mind. Now, he takes an unnecessary shot here from the incoming left defensive end because Trevor Penning got too far back. Spencer Rattler tried to step up into the pocket. He gets the throw off, right, and it still gets connected. But this could have been a lot worse than what it was. I'll show you a back end angle here. I'll let you guys see it from the back end angle, a more accurate angle of what my problem here is. So once again, look. He's under center. Kamara goes out in motion. Keep your eye on his whole offensive line here, from Talise Fuaga all the way over to Trevor Penning. Now we got a whole wide set here. We got guys in the B gaps playing the 3-tech. We got stand-up outside linebackers over here. We got a defensive end over here. Obviously, they run a 3-4 set, right? But watch what happens here. Now he initially got the right step. He's looking for work. He's helping out Trevor Penning, who struggled for 2024, making sure he gets his guy. You got Foster Moreau giving a chip. But my issue with this is, even with this was not necessary, because if you're going to have a tight end and your right guard help out your right tackle, then obviously Trevor Penning doesn't need to be in that position, right? But we're not focusing on that. Watch what Cesar Ruiz doesn't do. He gets the chip on his defensive tackle right here, and he helps out Eric McCoy. But look what happens now. He's looking around. He's trying to figure out what he needs to do next. He's out in no man's land. While everybody else is one-on-one at this point with their guys, because Foster Moreau, he goes out into his route. Why is Cesar Ruiz the only guy that's so confused on what to do next? Looking for work. He doesn't even know what his responsibility is at this point in the play. Right now, and as a result, this guy gets an inside track because Spencer Rattler steps up and gets a shot off, gets a QB hit. But now the pass is still caught. Now, it's still a great play from Spencer Rattler and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but it highlights a major flaw with Cesar Ruiz in terms of, I've done this part, I've done my part. What do I need to do next? You need to always keep your hands busy. You need to always look for work. Even if it doesn't look like people don't need your help, do something. Do anything. Do anything except just stand there looking confused. You are a veteran at this point on the offensive line. You and Eric McCoy are two of the oldest guys right now on this offensive line. You should not be looking like this is your first year in the NFL. Now, let's go to another play here and let you guys see what I'm talking about. Right now, this is against the Green Bay Packers. Y'all know how terrible the Green Bay Packers game was. Excuse me. So you're saying So obviously this is the 3x2 set and the empty set. Watch Cesar Ruiz. You see him right now. He's still trying to find work. Tyler Fuaga look like he's fighting for his life out here. You got Trevor Penning look like he's fighting for his life out here. Now he obviously can't do nothing about the left tackle, right? But my issue with this is he is not doing nothing. He's still doing nothing. Now this is a great throw, a great ball placement from Spencer Rattler, even greater catch from Foster Moreau. I'll let you guys once again see the back this angle here. Cesar Ruiz is right here. He's got Lucas Van Ness. He's got 94. They got people on his outside shoulder. Now, obviously, they're going to try and run a stunt game to try and get Cesar Ruiz confused, right? But watch what happens. He drops back in the coverage. He's looking for work. He's got his hand out to try to help Eric McCoy make sure that he doesn't give up the inside gap. However, Eric McCoy, let's play it back a little bit. Eric McCoy, sorry, not Eric McCoy. This is Connor McGovern. Excuse me. Eric McCoy was injured at this time, but Connor McGovern has a deadlock on number 94 here. He's not going anywhere. So what you should be doing, ideally now, obviously 62 is not much better for this because Lucas Patrick, those first two games, phenomenal. But Lucas Patrick doesn't do too much better. But in terms of Ruiz here, he's got a right tackle getting pushed back into the lap of Spencer Rattler. He's got 94 locked up. It looked like he's barely doing anything on this play. Now, obviously, the end result means we can let this go, right? No, it's the details for me. The details for me matter. And if I'm Cesar Ruiz, I'd be working on my set from sun up to sundown. Now, here's another example. Here's the last example I'm going to show you guys. Now, this right here, this is against the Las Vegas Raiders, a game that I believe was the most embarrassing of all the games that we've had so far. Now, before we get into this next clip, I want to say thank you to everyone who's come in so far. Yo, Nola Chop Podcast, it's been a minute, man. I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad to see you, man. Kai the Great. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well out there. And we got my boy, the Don. The Don. What's going on, Don? Look, if y'all don't know the Don's going to be one of my new moderators here once I get everything in my studio figured out. But Don's a more recent addition, but he's always been, supportive, showed up and showed out. So, and I need more moderators. I need more moderators I can count on. Next guy, Don, he's the mod father for a reason. I hear he's a mod for a lot of other YouTube channels around this great platform of ours. So he's going to be another addition of mine. So welcome, Don. Welcome, my boy Kai the Great. Great to see y'all. So with this being said, let's get into this last clip. This is against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, obviously, you got a four-man front. You got a stacked box here. They're loading up against the run. However, look what happens here. He gets initial contact, but watch the inside play. Once the inside rush here, lets him through. This is the reaction timing that you're gonna see needs to be improved on in terms of inside, offensive guard play. This type of thing is going to happen more often, not just with Trevor Penning, but with Cesar Ruiz as well, because it is a known weakness that he has poor reaction times. He can't recognize what's happening around him and get into a proper situation to take advantage or even counter. As a result, now this is a play that Spencer Rattler hits a dot on. This is the shot to the corner route by Kevin Austin Jr. He takes a shot from the first round pick and Tyree Wilson. But the play still gets made. Now let's see it from a different angle so you guys can see what I'm talking about with Ruiz. So this is a known issue. Here's the back angle. You got this guy. The stunt is going to come in real soon here. There's a stunt. Look at Ruiz's head. Look at Cesar Ruiz's head right here. Look how his head is down. Everyone else's head is up. Look, head up. Head up from McGovern. Head up from Penning even. If this guy's head is the only one who's down. You can't see what's coming your way because you don't know how to properly set your anchor. And as a result, he's late getting his head up around. And look at that. He doesn't move his feet. He gets up the inside pressure, and now he's praying he didn't get his quarterback killed here. I'll show you one more time from this back angle because this is a consistent issue with Cesar Ruiz. We'll go into his stats in a little bit more on another video. But I just want to highlight the few things that he does not do very well from a technique standpoint. Once again, here's the back angle of this corner shot to Kevin Austin Jr. He's in his pass rush set. You got a guy out here in the wide 9, and the guy over here in the B gap, got the 3 tech, the 9 tech. This is a stunt all the way around. If you're an offensive guy, if you're a defensive guy, you can see this coming a mile away. But watch what happens here. See, he's out. He's kind of lazy coming out of his step. Looks like he's stumbling coming out of his set. So he's trying to recenter. He's trying to recenter his balance. The one thing with me, his head's down. You can't have your head down on this play. You need to be able to see what's happening around you at all times, from the whistle to whistle. Looks like he's fighting for his life back here. Nearly trips up Jamal Williams as he's trying to go out into his set because it's too wide of a set back here. But he finally gets his head back up. But by the time he does, Tyree Wilson is already looking like he's going to be well past him. As a result, he's trying to get back over. He sees it too late. He doesn't move his feet. He's trying to keep set. But Tyree Wilson is well past him at this point. As a result, bam. Now Spencer Rattler shrugs off this play, but he suffered a minor tweak to his arm as a result of that shot. These are plays that can get your young quarterback killed. It's a thing that mentally sets in a young QB's mind that, hey, I can't trust you to hold up for this certain amount of time, so I'm going to need to do something else. But these are things that Drew Brees was known to cover up. He knows the limits of his offensive line. He's gotten into situations that really plays to the strength of his offensive line. But right now, you don't have that. You don't have that in Tyler Shutt. You don't have that in Spencer Rattler. You don't have the quarterback on your roster that can help you cover up those deficiencies in your game. So if you don't have a QB to help cover those deficiencies, you need to turn those deficiencies into strengths, turn those weaknesses into something that can no longer be exploited on a weekly basis. The offensive line is going to be the make or break for this team, for being able to run the offense that you want to run. Trevor Penning is going to be asked to identify these stunts, identify inside rushers pretty routinely, but more so than him, Cesar Ruiz is going to be asked to do that because he's been here. He knows these guys. He's supposed to know these guys. So he's going to be looked on, to help identify these blitzes. They're going to be these double A gap blitzes. Who's going to be coming? Who's going to be going? This, that, and the third. He can't do that if he's the only guy with his back turned. Let's see it one more time. Just to emphasize what I'm talking about here. The only guy, head down, too late, doesn't move his feet. As a result, the only guy who's looking at the quarterback, praying he doesn't die, is absolutely inexcusable. You can't have that. Cesar Ruiz needs to do better. Now, he did okay for one season, and that one season earned him a contract extension. But that said extension is coming up real soon. And with play like this, I can't imagine Cesar Ruiz being here for very much longer. I wouldn't be surprised if he finds his way out the door by the end of 2025. If his play doesn't shape up. He's got to be better, and we all need him to be. Before we get to the next make or break player on my list here, we're going to read some of these comments. My boy Kai the Great saying Cesar needs to be more aware of his surroundings. I agree 100%, man. Look, this guy is great out in space. Let's not take that away from him. He's great out in space, and he knows what to do in terms of outside zone run schemes or maybe even inside zone run schemes. He has that type of athletic ability. What he needs to do is he needs to smarten up here. He needs to see the play happen before it actually happens. He needs to identify those things, identify those keys, and react accordingly to help out his young QB, regardless of who's taking calling the shots back there behind him. He needs to have better care for his surroundings. My boy says he's still waiting on the bench. Look, I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. I don't know how to make you a mod from over here. I might have to try from my personal YouTube channel and get you that wrench. But hey, trust Don. Trust Don. That mod wrench is coming. It's coming. I appreciate you though. So let's get into another comment down here before we get into another one. My boy Don says Ruiz can be great, but his technique needs some improvement. His improvements were needed before his contract extension, if I'm being completely honest. Because even that one good season where he played all 17 games, I didn't see that being that warranting another shot on his offensive line. I really didn't. But he is a team first guy. I'll say that much about him. He's a high character, high energy guy. He'll give you everything in the screen game. He'll give you everything in the run game. But that small attention to detail is going to be the difference between potential Pro Bowler to getting well wishes in your future endeavors. The margin of error is too small for him now. There's no more room. There's no more room for excuses when it comes to Ruiz, especially considering that Ruiz is the only guy from the 2024 offensive line that's played in nearly every game. Nearly every game. Now, obviously, that moniker holds up to Talise Fuaga, who I believe will be even better going back to his natural position. But with that being said, one second. I got a notification on my board here. According to my board here, it says the New Orleans Saints have signed former Vikings defensive end Jonathan Bullard. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So right now, guys, I don't know if you've seen this, but we've got a familiar face to Brandon Staley. And it looks like Jonathan Bullard has officially been signed to the New Orleans Saints. And he now joins an absolutely crowded defensive line room. Jonathan Bullard is a guy that you're not going to hear a lot of buzz about in terms of his ball production, but what he does bring is familiarity with Brandon Staley's type of defensive scheme during their time together in Chicago. Now, what he does bring is he also brings a lot of flexibility. He can play all over the defensive line. This is similar to Tano Passanio. I believe this is his Tano Passanio. He's more of a pass rushing DN, more of a run blocking DN. I think that's more of a Devon Gottschalk type of game. But this guy here, he's a good chess piece to have when you're dealing with in terms of depth, because you need quality depth when you're dealing with this New Orleans Saints team. Let's keep it a stack for what it is, right? So I can appreciate them getting behind this, but it really does beg the question: how is Isaiah? I don't see Isaiah Foskey making this team. If they're going out signing guys like this, there's only so many spots that Brandon Staley can have on his defensive line. And if they're bringing in Jonathan Bullard, a guy that he's familiar with, the X factor for me is going to be Isaiah Foskey, maybe even that other guy they brought from the Washington Commanders last season. His name's escaping me. Forgive me. He wasn't all that important for me. Or maybe even their 7th round pick in Fidel Diggs. Those are the top 3 that come to mind in terms of potential cuts. Now, obviously, you got Colin Saunders up there, but I think Bink is going to be a guy that's going to be counted on as far as, first and second downs. How are those things going to play out? He is a good run-stopping defensive tackle. I don't see Nathan Shepard going anywhere yet. So my top 3 with this signing that are probably on the outside looking in is Isaiah Foskey being number one, Fidel Diggs being a 7th round pick being number two, and once again that defensive tackle from the Washington Commanders, his name is escaping me. Forgive me, y'all. I try to remember all the names of my guys on this roster. It doesn't always come out that way, but I think those are three are going to be outside looking in with Jonathan Bullard. I know I do like this signing. The more guys that you know that can help teach you Brandon Staley's new scheme, I think the better everyone's going to be. I think it's good they had that kind of familiarity going for them so far, especially before the start of training camp. Now, I don't know what kind of condition Bullard's going to be in. I don't know if he's still going to be, uh, in his prime or anything like that. But just being able to help teach, what Staley wants his defensive tackles to do, his outside linebackers or defensive ends to do in terms of rushing the passer, or dropping back into coverage. These are things that he can impart his wisdom onto guys who've only seen 4.3s or 4.25s during their time with Dennis Allen. I think that's going to go a long way. But speaking of the defensive side, there is a guy I'm going to talk about that's on the defensive side of the ball, but he's not really a guy that's going to be on the line as much. He's more of a linebacker, and that's Pete Werner. I think Pete Werner is going to be another make or break player for the New Orleans Saints on defense. With Danny Stutzman, one of the best linebackers in the nation in the 2024, coming in now, I think he's got an Oklahoma Sooner nipping at his heels. Now, we know Pete Werner since coming in, I believe, 2021. During his rookie campaign, he looked like he's going to be that next breakout guy that could take the place of Demario Davis. And we saw that he could potentially do that when Demario Davis was inactive due to COVID during that stint. Now, he plays the mic, he plays the will, but what he cannot do well is cover downfield. Now, obviously, you're not going to see much of that with Brandon Staley and his zone coverage defense. All their eyes will be glued back into the quarterback and knowing where the ball is. See ball, get ball. I think that's going to be the philosophy. But Pete Werner's game has slowly but surely regressed over these last two seasons. Now, part of that is due to the injuries he sustained, because during his third year, he was leading the National Football League in solo tackles. He had 77 going for him and going into that game against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, towards the end of that game, he suffered an injury, and it derailed all of his momentum. All of it. And he couldn't really recover much since then. But he's still a guy who has great play recognition. He's a guy who can play the run better than most right now, outside of Demario Davis and Cam Jordan. But his pass coverage skills have a lot to be desired. What is Pete Werner going to look like trying to play zone coverage? We've seen what Pete Werner looks like when he tries to play zone. It's not the best. And now you got a guy in Denny Stutzman who can play zone coverage. Demario Davis has seen some zone coverage, has been in zone coverage schemes during his time with the Jets. His early tenure with the New York Jets, he's played in zone coverage. Excuse me, I had a small itch. All right, we back at it. But this is an interesting situation with Pete Werner. I think it's crucial, not just for Pete Werner, but for the succession to Demario Davis. While it's not official, I cannot see Demario Davis being a guy that stays on the roster beyond 2025. Maybe 2026 if you're pushing it. But I think it's imperative that he play well so they can marry Pete Werner and Danny Stutzman instead of being one or the other. The succession to Demario Davis is paramount in terms of being the guy that gets people in the right scheme, that gets guys where they're supposed to be lined up. A guy that's going to wear that green dot on their helmets. Pete Werner did that once. He did it well, but this is a new era. This is a new defensive coordinator. This is no longer Dennis Allen. This is not man defense. It's zone defense. So Pete Werner has a challenge of, retooling his instincts to play more in zone than he's been asked for, even during his time way back in Ohio State, because Ohio State was more of a man team that every so often played zone. Even then, his ability to find the football in zone or find his guy in zone was a little bit lacking, there. So this is going to be an interesting situation. You got guys going against teams this season who love to exploit guys in zone. You got Tampa Bay who does it. Sometimes you've got Bryce Young starting to come up and do it over in Carolina. Your schedule so far, Arizona. Your first game. That guy lives. Kyler Murray loves to hit guys, against zone. Now you got Trey McBride over there. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., who's looking to capitalize on a pretty good rookie campaign. You got Michael Wilson, the physical guy. You got James Conner out of the backfield, and you got an offensive coordinator who's known for exploiting holes in zone coverage, particularly at the second level, in that linebacker area, that linebacker / slot corner level. What is he going to do about that? It's going to be very, very interesting. Not to mention you got I believe the Rams. You got the Bills, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, guys that were known to pick, zone schemes apart one way or another. Now, we're going to see how this shapes up, right? It may not even be Pete Werner versus Danny Stutzman. It may not come out the way right now. But something in my gut's telling me that I really do believe that Pete Werner needs to step up. He needs to step up quickly. He needs to do it evidently, or he's going to be in trouble. Another guy who used to wear a red jersey. Now, Pete Werner received a contract extension that would often say that his spot on this roster is safe and assured. It looks like with that contract of his, he's going to be, part of the plan post Demario Davis, which is kind of good. Extension that he received. Now, Pete Werner, that guy signed a 3-year extension. Was more than $25 million with 17.5 guaranteed. Now, that is going to take them through 2027. So for the time being, like I said, a lot of things has happened. There's some language in here that the Saints can technically get out of it by the end of 2026, because he signed it last year in early August. Now, they can technically get out of it by the end of 2026 if they want to. But from how this has been initially structured, this is supposed to take them at least a year, maybe 2 years, after Demario Davis is set to have his contract expire and him potentially retiring for the National Football League. It would be a really great and ideal situation if this guy, Pete Werner, can really adjust quickly to zone coverage schemes. And now you got your next 2 great linebackers for at least 3 years, for at least to the end of 2027. If it does play out that way, the things rarely play out the way we hope them to here in Who Dat Nation. So let's not sit idle just yet. I hope this extension is going to be worth every penny. I think the team believes in him, obviously. With that being said, there's another guy that I believe this team believes in. I don't believe in him. I technically don't. But sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. And during this whole coaching career, we've seen Kellen Moore get the most out of his tight ends, whether it be Dallas Goedert in Philly or Gerald Everett in his time with Los Angeles, or maybe even Dalton Schultz during his time in Dallas, and that is Jawan Johnson. Can Jawan Johnson stay off TikTok long enough to play to his potential that the New Orleans Saints coaching staff and front office evidently seeing him? Since coming to the New Orleans Saints in 2020, Jawan Johnson, a former wide receiver out of Oregon, a former guy who transferred to Oregon from Penn State, the following season he moved to tight end, and he's had some moniker of success at that position. He's not more of an inline tight end. Let's keep it for what it is. He's not an inline tight end that can block. But what he does give you is a mismatch at the wide position as a flex tight end in the receiving game. And I believe that's where Kellen Moore is going to have to scheme up some things and really play to it and really try to put him in best positions to succeed, which again, he's been known to do, but it's on Jawan Johnson to really finally put it all together and really show this front office that they were right in every facet to give him the extension that he was given. If it were me, I would have shown Jawan Johnson the door as soon as that contract was over with. And that's not me saying that I personally don't like Jawan Johnson. I think the guy is great. You know what I'm saying? But what I do, one second. Sorry, had some random call me. But no, what I do believe the Saints team needs is a reliable tight end, a physical presence in the middle of the field that when the times are tough and they need to have a play, they can go to somebody who can make those contested catches, who can get that first down. And I think that's what Jawan Johnson is capable of giving you. But for some reason, whether it be injuries or him taking plays off, Jawan Johnson really doesn't do that on a consistent basis. Most times that he's only showing up towards the late end of games, which is kind of counterproductive. We've always called Derek Carr, he who shall not be named, like king of empty yards, right? But I think that's more Jawan Johnson at this point now that Mr. Vehicle is out the door. Jawan Johnson can't afford to just show up late in the games when the game is pretty much already over with. This is the guy that needs to capitalize on the moment ahead of him. He should be foaming at the mouth right now if he's looked at how Kellen Moore likes to utilize his tight ends. Gerald Everett had a career year during his time with the Chargers, and Kellen Moore was an offensive coordinator. Career year. It got him the bag. He hasn't done much since then. I think that speaks more to the scheme of Kellen Moore that really brought out the strengths of Gerald Everett, brought out the strengths of Dallas Goedert whenever he was in the game, brought out the best in Dalton Schultz, and as a result, Schultz got paid by the Houston Texans. Got paid to contribute over there, but obviously not to the same degree as he was during his time in Dallas. But he still got paid. For some reason, I don't know what it is with Jawan Johnson. Like, this is one of the more confusing picks for me, if that makes any sense. Because Jawan Johnson has so much potential in those hands of his. He does his pregame workouts. He shows up to practice and he puts in 110% effort. I see that. But whatever it is with him trying to work off slot defenders, trying to work off linebackers, whether it be trying to get separation or trying to make a play, trying to use that big frame of his, it just doesn't work that way. It don't work that way for some reason, and it's kind of confusing. And I'm being completely honest. I don't know why they keep texting me. Look, They keep texting me, y'all. Look, I appreciate y'all, but look, I'm doing a live stream. Okay. But no, especially with Taysom Hill coming out the door. Between Taysom Hill coming out the door, like I believe really soon, and I don't believe in Maliki Monteval, making this team the 6th-round draft pick out of UCLA. I don't see much in the way for him right now until he proves that he can be more of a reliable, or run blocker or pass blocker. I don't see that in his game. I don't see much in the way of Foster Moreau, even though he had a career year, Foster Moreau, last season. And that speaks more to the chemistry he has with Derek Carr. That stems all the way back to your time with the Raiders. But having a devastating knee injury like Foster Moreau, at the very least, you're looking at a less than 80% Foster Moreau to start 2025 until he fully works his way back from injury. Now, Foster Moreau is a linebacker that doesn't get a lot of credit for what he does on the field. For all intents and purposes, I think Foster Moreau has been one of the better tight ends we've had since Benjamin Watson. And that's including with Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill in that room. As a pure tight end, I think Foster Moreau is that. But what about the Josh Hills? Y'all know Josh Hill. He was a great run-blocking tight end who always gave 110%, always running downfield, getting that extra key block to spring guys open for a big game, maybe even a touchdown, who can give you consistent production in the pass game when it's asked of him. That's the type of player I want. Now, I'm never going to get the run blocking aspect with Juwan Johnson, but what about the pass game? Can you show up when we need you? Make a play. Do something. You're athletic enough. You are athletic enough to make those type of plays. For all intents and purposes, I'm going to have to say that the passing game for the Saints, Juwan Johnson needs to be a present factor. He needs to be that third guy. He needs to be that third guy with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Now, Brandon Cooks is going to be looked at as that third guy, quote unquote. But what about that third guy in the progression? That's what I'm looking at. What about the security blanket that tight ends are known to be? That's what I'm looking at. We got a new addition here. Hey, what's going on, Tim Dunn? Happy to see you, my boy. Welcome to the B&G Breakdown Podcast. This is your boy, Dak Davis here for you. And as always, if you don't know, you will know over here. We bleed black and gold until we are dead and cold. I appreciate you joining me, man. We're talking about make or break players who can significantly impact the final record for the New Orleans Saints in 2025 based off their performance, based on how they do. And right now, we're just about wrapped up with Juwan Johnson here. When I'm putting this list together, Juwan Johnson is a guy who I wasn't really sure on. I think he's going to be a guy that is going to be more of a break than a make. Because if he didn't show it before, I have no reason for any Saints fan to believe that he'll show it now. There are a lot of, even with the Clint Kubiak system, Juwan Johnson was put in positions to really utilize his speed at the tight end position. And it didn't really work out that way. He still keeps showing up late in games, and that is an absolute no-go. But we'll see what happens with that. Now, we got one more here we're going to do. I apologize for this being a little short. Like I said, it's the weekend. I want to enjoy myself. I want y'all to enjoy yourselves. We got one more player here on a defensive side of the ball. I try to do 2 here and 2 here. But we've done 3 each. But this is the third guy for the New Orleans Saints make or break. He is a recent signee with this team. He comes from the recently established pipeline of the Kansas City Chiefs, from Tano Passanio to Willie Gay to Colin Saunders. This is another guy that comes from that defensive system. This is a a NOLA bred guy. He is returning home like Tyrann Mathieu. This is the guy that's going to be paired up with him in that secondary, and that is safety Justin Reid, who also gives you plenty. He gives you plenty in the special teams department in terms of kicking field goals. Can Justin Reid be more like Tano Passanio or more like Tyrann Mathieu? Excuse me. Will he be more like Tyrann Mathieu or will he end up like Tano Passanio? Now, let me explain what I mean by that. When I say be more like Tyrann Mathieu, I mean I want to see a guy that hits the ground running in terms of understanding the scheme, understanding what's being asked of him, understanding his assignment. I want to see a guy that makes instant impact, bring leadership, bring veteran presence, bring great instincts against the run. I want to see that type of similar type of production being the 1-2 combo next to Tyrann Mathieu. Or can he be more like Tano Passanio, a guy that, for all intents and purposes, has all the potential in the world, but he can never consistently live up to it. Now, there's a saying, we've seen this before. Guys that have played in college, played it down here in the boot, they come back after being around in the NFL, they come back to the Saints, and they somehow get this new surge of life, and they play better than what they have in most of their time elsewhere. We've seen it with Tyrann Mathieu. We've seen it with Will Clapp, and now obviously this is going to be a little bit different. But what's this going? But Tano Passanio was a guy that flashed promise in his first year with the Saints. It never fully materialized after that first season, but the potential was there, and it's unfortunate. But Justin Reid being a make or break, not only because of the pipeline he comes from, but the money in which they've given him. Now, obviously, the Saints have got the rookie safety Jonas Sanker from Virginia. He plays a little bit like Justin Reid in terms of his ability to get downhill and lay the wood on someone in the run game. He's a guy that can show up in the right spots in the pass game. Always have his nose and hat towards the football. What Justin Reid can do, like during his time at Kansas City, all I'm going to say is it's going to be paramount, because I assume that Justin Reid is going to be a starter for the New Orleans Saints next to Tyrann Mathieu. And not just a dime back. No, this guy is going to be, I believe, the starting strong safety, or maybe starting free safety. However they want to change those two positions up. That's going to be 1 and 2 by the start of 2025. I wholly believe that. Now, Justin Reid's no slouch. This isn't a guy that, for all of his career, isn't a guy that just flashed potential. He's shown it and kept it at a high level wherever he's been. And he has some history with Tyrann Mathieu because they both played together during their time with the Texans. They hope to recreate some of that magic here. This might be the Quan Alexander to Tyrann Mathieu's DeMario Davis, if that makes any sense. Because y'all know how high I was in those two linebacker duos when they got together for the first time. This could be similar in terms of how they play off of each other, and it'd be so seamless that not too much coaching is needed from either of them. It can alleviate so many concerns in terms of what you call for your defense if you're Brandon Staley. I believe that to be paramount. So of all the names I've listed, Justin Reid is going to be up there towards the top. I believe up there with the offensive guards and Penning and Ruiz. It's absolutely needed. So we will see how this shapes out with Justin Reid and the New Orleans Saints. With that being said, let's read into A couple comments here, then we'll go ahead and get y'all out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. We got Rowe here. You got Miller, Neal, Yarns, Jones, McClyde, and Akers cut. Now, this is an interesting situation. I've talked about this in my last live stream, but you got Miller, you got Devin Neal, and then Yarns, or even Jones, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Cam Akers cut. Now, that running back room is stacked. There's a lot of potential in there, but I say potential very loosely, because potential is one thing, but can you go out on the field and produce? And of all the names you've got listed here that have actually produced at the NFL level, the guy that's produced is Cam Akers. From his time with the Minnesota Vikings to his time with the Los Angeles Rams, Cam Akers is the guy that has the most experience out of everyone here in terms of starting play. Next to him would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who eventually lost his spot to Isaiah Pacheco, and then a returning Kareem Hunt. Then obviously you've got Kendre Miller, who started a couple games for you. Then lastly, you got rookies Devin Neal and Marcus Yarns. Now, Marcus Yarns out of Delaware, that guy was a beast. I did watch his tape. I did go over his stats. Marcus Yarns was that guy. He reminds me of he actually kind of reminds me of Kendre Miller in terms of his ability to get yards after contact, get skinny in the hole and break off explosive plays. Miller, Neal, and Yarns have similar playability. But that also speaks true for, they're similar to Alvin Kamara. Y'all know what Kamara's about. You see a lot of that with those three names right there. Now, I don't see Jones really making this team. I don't think Velus Jones has that type of advantage over anybody else here. Now, he had a nice time during his time with Tennessee as a wide receiver. He came to the Chicago Bears. He got moved to the running back room, but he hasn't seen much playing time. I think Velus Jones is more of a camp body. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I would never put anything as absolute with this new offense, with this new coaching staff. Never put it past anybody. We got one more question here. It is from my boy Kai the Great. He asks, how you feel about our wide receivers? We got speed, but we still missing that big body presence. I know Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper are out there that we can possibly sign. So here's the thing about the wide receiver room. It's worked with the Miami Dolphins. Why can't it work with the New Orleans Saints? We've always made this big deal out of having a big body receiver. Now, obviously, I just mentioned that with Juwan Johnson being that big body guy as a wide tight end, as a flex tight end, but that's just a natural thing to expect out of that position group. But in terms of wide receivers, speed kills. One way or another, speed kills. Chris Olave is shown to be able to get consistently open. Rashid Shaheed, prior to injury, he's expanded his route tree. He can get in and out of breaks. He can make contested catches if and when he needs to. Not to mention, you got the veteran speed and Brandon Cooks. Those are your top three guys right there. Now, in terms of what do we mean by big body? What does it mean to be a big body receiver? If we want to compare, if we want to look for someone that's kind of similar to Michael Thomas was a 6'3" guy. Now we got Bump Means and Donovan Peoples-Jones listed as 6'2", but in terms of their body size, they're not too much different from Michael Thomas. So we're talking about a big body guy. Are you talking about a guy who has the physical traits of a big body, or do we want the production of a big body? I think that's a big difference of what we're looking for. Now, Keenan Allen, believe it or not, he's not much of a big body guy. Now he plays big, but Keenan Allen has always been a guy that can get down the field as a speedster, who can get open in the middle of the field. Now he's a veteran guy with great hands. Amari Cooper, kind of similar to Keenan Allen, but with less production. Now he's capable of making those contested catches, and he's shown it a little bit during this time with the Cleveland Browns, even recently with the Buffalo Bills when he got traded there. But big body, if you talk about big body, a guy who's made a career out of making tough catches, then if you're talking about this list here, then technically Donovan Peoples-Jones is the guy that you would look for in a big body receiver. During this time with the Cleveland Browns, and more so in the younger / prime of his career, Donovan Peoples-Jones was known around the league as being that physical, big body catcher for the Cleveland Browns. He was one of the top in the NFL in contested catches with his wide catch radius. So if you're looking for a big body guy, DPJ might be it. Now, I'm not saying he's going to come in here, he's going to wow us, right? But similar could be said about Marquez Valdes-Scantling when the Saints traded for him, despite having little to no production during his time in Buffalo. And look how good Valdes-Scantling showed out. Now that speaks more to the fact that they didn't have another speedy receiver to work off of him, like the Saints currently now do with Olave, Shaheed, and Brandon Cooks. But that being said, if you can't find a big body receiver, quote unquote, in the receiving room, then the tight end room is going to be the next best thing. That's why Juwan Johnson made my make or break list. Because when all else fails, a tight end is your best security blanket to have when everything else goes wrong. He needs to step up and be that guy when things look like they're going to be like a sack or maybe even a strip sack, or the difference between you converting a 4th and 3 or a 4th and 4 inside of 2 minutes, trying to get into position for a field goal, something like that. I don't think you need a big body wide receiver. Otherwise, if you want a speedy receiver, then you can go get Kenny Allen for sure. You want a speedy receiver, Amari Cooper still got gas in the tank for that. But a big body who statistically has made spectacular tough catches and tight coverage, Donovan Peoples-Jones or even Michael Thomas. Call him up, see where he's at. But no, I think we need to understand what we mean by big body receiver and understand what these type of guys were in their NFL careers. Okay, Keenan Allen is not the guy you would consider to be a big body. Amari Cooper is not the guy you would consider to be a big body. Those were speedsters, speed kills. You know what I'm saying? But that is a good question, though. How I feel about the receiving room, it can work. Am I 100% sold on it? Absolutely not. I want questions answered first before I really, say I'm comfortable or how I really feel about it. But as it stands, there's always room for improvement. Let's not get that misconstrued. There's always room for improvement. But right now, if speed is what they're going with at the receiver position, then I think they've got what they need right now on the roster. Like I said, the Miami Dolphins have consistently been able to do it for the last 3-4 seasons. And they made the playoffs 2 times in that span. Now that didn't really win them any football games, but that got them into the dance. And that speaks more to the defense and the offensive line play of the quarterback play of the Miami Dolphins. Not so much the receivers that they had to work with. Excuse me. So it's going to be very interesting. You know what I'm saying? So I hope they alleviate some concerns in terms of, hey, maybe we don't need this 6'4", 6'5" guy, even though it would really, really, really help a struggling quarterback who can't make those accurate throws all the time, or who can't always separate from coverage. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens with that. But with that being said, we just about wrapped up B&G Breakdown podcast for today, guys. Listen, like I said, it is hot. I'm trying to get cool. I'm trying to get some grub. I'm going to speak to my lady here. But listen, if y'all going down to the training camp practice on August 2nd, meet me there. I will be in the parking lot before they open up. We're going to march our way in there. We're gonna shoot some videos. We're gonna do some clips. We're gonna do all the good stuff. It's gonna be a fun time. I'm gonna make it as fun as possible for us. I'm gonna try and get a couple of words in from some Saints guys after practice. I'll get some words in for anybody who rocks with me in BG Breakdown podcast. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a fun time. But that's not the only thing I'm going to. I'm also going to the season opener. The New Orleans Saints take on the Arizona Cardinals at home to start the new Kellen Moore era. Is going to be an exciting, fun time. I will be there. I will be present. I will be active. I will be wearing all my colors. It's going to be a fun time, man. I can't wait. But until those set times are here, it's going to be something of a question and answer soiree, if that makes any sense. But tomorrow night, maybe even Monday, I will be back. We got another live stream coming out, man. So look out for all the details on my official Twitter page at BGB Pod. That's BG Breakdown Podcast. Go ahead and search that up on your search bar. Hit that follow button. I follow everybody back. If you're here on my official YouTube channel, like I said, if you haven't hit that like button, hit the like button. It costs $0, 0 cents to hit that like button. Also $0.00 to hit that share button and share me around with your fellow football friends, man. I love talking football. It's one of my ultimate passions. I'm going to be, trying to make this an official career of mine real soon. The more support I get, the more I want to elevate and evolve my game here. So hit that like button, hit that follow button, hit the subscribe button. And as always, if y'all don't know, you will know that over here, we bleed black and gold until we are dead and cold. I will see y'all either tomorrow or Monday, you know what I'm saying, or weather, heat notwithstanding. As always, stay tuned, y'all. Stay tuned.